In 2002, a 2-hour standoff, which an untrained television reporter attempted to solve, concluded with the death of the 4-year-old boy and the knife wielder of the hostage situation in the controversial Pasay bus terminal hostage. Michael Fatin was the media journalist during the hostage situation. He was characterized as a novice television reporter during his negotiations with a hostage taker, for he had no prior experience and training in the said field. This probes the question, should media practitioners enter into a negotiation with hostage holders during police operations? The facts that have been most bearing on the ethical decision that must be rendered are the critical pieces of information. On the one, news reporter who meddled with the police operations. 2. Circumstances surrounding the victims and the perpetrator. And lastly, 3. The police response and personnel present at the crime scene. Primarily, these issues tap on the moral and legal features of media, law enforcement, and public health. An individual has a set of values. Value systems are shaped by one's experience, environment, and background, which not only affects the life of the individual but also the life of others. The Pasay bus terminal hostage of 2002 has numerous underlying values, from the perpetrator to the police and to the reporter. In this case, the perpetrator, Diomedes Talbo, wanted to be heard. But due to the language barrier, with him predominantly speaking Ilocano, his demands were not recognized immediately, even with an interpreter translating it to Tagalog for the police. And with the arrival of the police and media, Talbo was aggravated, which made him turn to and stick to violence to relay his message and as a means to protect himself. As stated in the Philippines Journalist Code of Ethics 2017, I shall not let personal motives or interest influence me in the performance of my duties, which was violated by the reporter as he negotiated with the perpetrator. Rather than meddling with the situation, he should have fulfilled his role as a media practitioner, which was to document the event instead of becoming part of it, and doing something which could potentially endanger the victim. Negotiating with perpetrators during hostage-taking incidents is not the job or a component of a media practitioner, so it should be the last resort to any circumstance. And as much as the truth and timely information are necessary, they, as media practitioners, should have discerned what is appropriate to be aired live on television. The most important value presented would be upholding law and order, followed by truth, autonomy, courage, and the last would be violence. Hostage situations are no joke and should be eyed and solved in a judicious process, as this heavily implies the safety of not just one, but all stakeholders. Should the case have been managed evenly where the wants of Diomedes Talbo were obtained, the situation would have not escalated to a scenario causing the death of an innocent child. The ethical theory of utilitarianism was utilized in analyzing the events that occurred within the hostage-taking. For the local police force and media organizations present at the scene, the actions which they executed heavily relied on their motivations and values. Their loyalties and goals align and divulge into one purpose only: saving the child. At first, these actions may seem like they're in accordance with the main principle of utilitarianism. However, by taking a more in-depth glance at the situation, it could be determined that the influence of their career responsibilities need to follow the unorganized system imposed upon them by their superiors by extracting justice and performing a successful operation at once, which greatly rejects the utilitarian belief of repudiating moral codes that consist of commands or customs given by their leaders or supernatural being. Furthermore, their failed actions directly goes against utilitarianism's main principle, focused on getting the best achievable outcome there is. Through our analysis, we were able to identify two possible alternative courses of action. First, it would have been a safer bet for the authorities to comply with the hostage-taker's requests by connecting him to the two personalities he wanted to converse with, whether in person or even through a phone call. This will help keep him from being aggravated and will allow for more time to brainstorm for the next step. However, in consideration of a worst-case scenario, it would be inevitable to explore the topic of taking the hostage-taker's life to grant other people safety, especially since the incident was under a significant time constraint and an apathetic perpetrator under the influence of drugs. This is a route that may raise more ethical questions. Nevertheless, under the context of utilitarianism, it may be the only way to attain the best result for everyone involved. Overall, this case proves that during emergency situations, determining the finest outcome for everything is not an easy task, further affirming that always abiding by utilitarian ways would not be as simple as one may think. Nevertheless, these theories exist for a reason. They serve as channel that can help guide individuals towards determining what's morally right or wrong, and open up opportunities for more critical thinking, which in turn can impact society for the better or even save lives.